What's up guys, Brennan here, back with another video. So today we're going to be talking about practice, specifically how to efficiently learn something without getting yourself overwhelmed or doing it too much all at once, just showing you exactly how to practice something the right way and do it efficiently. Before we get into the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my future piano tutorials, covers, original songs, and instructional videos. So when we talk about learning a piano song, one thing to keep in mind when it comes to learning piano is picture yourself when you're just learning a new song, you're kind of at the bottom of a staircase and you want to go step by step by step and slowly work your way up to the top of that staircase or to the end of the song. If you try and just skip from the bottom staircase all the way up to the top, it can seem like the song is too hard to learn or that you're just having too much trouble and can't stick with it. But really what the problem was is you just did too many stairs at once. You want to go one stair, and just kind of work your way slowly up to the top of the staircase. So that's one thing I want you to keep in mind when you approach learning a piano song. So one of the things that I do that really helps me is before I even start learning the song, I listen to whatever it is I'm trying to learn. So I go on YouTube or go on Spotify and I listen to the song over and over and just get very familiar with the song. So that's the first thing I recommend. And then when you go to sit down and learn the song, I want you to think of each part as its own little mini section. You'll notice in my tutorials that I do, I kind of am naturally doing this. I go over one hand, I go over the other hand, and then I go over it together. And then I do that section by section by section, going up the staircase until you're at the top. Really any song, even if it's the hardest sounding piano song that you've ever heard, and you're like, oh, there's no way I can learn that. Really, if you just took this technique that I'm explaining and you start at the beginning, slowly learn each section, each hand on its own, work your way towards the end of the song, before you know it, you'll have that entire song. The only thing that matters is just not going too much at once. So what I like to do is I take a song and I get familiar with the first section and I learn each hand separately. Now that's very important. You don't want to be trying to put both parts together when each hand doesn't really know its own part. You want to have each hand kind of certain in its own part. So for example, say that the part in the left hand is like this. I want to get that down fully in my left hand before I add in the right hand part. If I try and learn both at the same time when I'm uncertain on each part, then you mess up. You want to have each hand, left hand on its own, down fully for that little section. And then you want to have the right hand down fully for that little section. And then you try putting them both together. And then do the entire song that way. So it's almost like left hand, right hand together for that tiny section, left hand, right hand together for the next, left hand, right hand together, and so on, going through the entire song that way. So once you're familiar with each hand on its own, and then you start to put both together, you want to then practice them together for a bit and get your practice in on that section. Kind of think of the entire song as having its own little parts, and you want to get this part down, number one, before you move on to number two. So number one, we're getting that part down, then we move on to the next part of the song. If we're trying to learn too many parts all at once, we tend to get overwhelmed and then it's too hard to learn and we have to take a break and do something else. So the next thing I want to talk about is repetition. So if you've ever noticed that the more you do something, the easier it comes, it's the same thing when learning the piano. You want to do something over and over and over and over until your hands can automatically do something. If you're thinking about each step that you're doing in the left hand and thinking about each one in the right hand, you'll tend to mess up because you have too much attention on each hand. You want to kind of get it down separately, put both together before you move on to the next section. So keep that in mind is if you're having trouble with a specific area of a song, say that you can play the beginning really good and then there's this one part where you're having trouble, You don't want to be playing the part that you can already play because you already know that part. You want to identify, okay, this is the area I'm having trouble with. Let me just slow it down and try and repeat and practice over and over, repetition. Do it over and over until you can play it perfectly. Which brings me to my next point. When you're learning a song, you want to slow the song down enough to where you can learn it. If you're trying to play something at full speed before you really have it down, it's going to be much harder to play it faster than it is slower. So I want you to take this approach and do the left hand nice and slow, do the right hand nice and slow, and then put both hands together slow. So let's just take that example I was doing earlier where I'm like this. Nice and slow, and I do the right hand. The more you're familiar with it, then you can start to speed things up because your hands are already familiar with playing it. And at that point, you can try putting it together slowly. Until you're really comfortable with it, and then put it at full speed. I want you to take a song that you're trying to learn and try and apply these tips of breaking it up into the entire song, looking at it like this. You break it up into its own little section, and then you do left hand nice and slow, right hand nice and slow, and then you put both hands together for that one section. Get that down to where you're comfortable, and then you move to the next section of the song. Left hand nice and slow, right hand nice and slow, put it together nice and slow, get it down, move to the third section of the song, and do the entire song that way. Now, once you've gone through each section of the song, you kind of have each thing down slowly, then you take all the sections and you put them together. Nice and slow, both hands going through the entire song, and what you'll start to notice is if there's any area that you're a bit slower or you're having trouble with, I want you to then focus on that area, getting that down, and then moving to the next area. So if you find any area you're having trouble, just take it nice and slow and try and get that down nice and slow before you move on. So now, once you've practiced each section, each part of the song, both hands, you go through and you eventually will be able to play the whole song nice and slow. I want you to then practice that, do that a few times, get comfortable with it, and then you could start to work yourself up to the full speed of the song. By doing this, you're doing the staircase method, right? You're moving up one stair at a time, just like if you're in first grade, you're moving up to second grade, third grade, fourth grade. You don't want to immediately skip up to 12th grade and try and learn the entire song at once before you really have each part down, practiced, ready to go. So that's my tips for y'all. Definitely try it out and let me know what you think about this practice technique. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out as a small creator here on YouTube. And it also helps you guys out because then you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Don't forget to create art, and I'll see you guys next time.